And today is the second day of the Indian Prime Minister's all-important United States visit after the in-person meeting with his Australian and Japanese counterparts and also with the American Vice President Kamala Harris yesterday. His big bilateral with the US President Joe Biden is expected, followed by the first in-person Quad summit. Prime Minister Modi will be joining President Biden at the White House for their first in-person bilateral meeting ahead of the mega Quad meeting. We take a closer look at the expectations from these meetings, what lies ahead, what would India's priorities be. Joining us on the broadcast this minute is a very special guest, Saeed Akbaruddin, India's former permanent representative to the United Nations. Thanks very much, sir, for speaking with us.
Thank you very much for providing an opportunity to engage with you.
It's our pleasure, sir. What would India hope to achieve from the bilateral meeting with the US President and the Quad summit?
Let me try to put it this way. The visit of the Indian Prime Minister is amongst the most consequential and significant visits that an Indian Prime Minister has undertaken in recent times, because it has a bilateral component with our most significant partner. B, it has a plurilateral component, which is looking at provision of global public goods in the Indo-Pacific region. And C, it has a multilateral component that deals with the world in general. So all three components are rare in a global effort which is made together in one go. As regards the bilateral component right now, India hopes to signal that India and the US have strategic congruence on areas of interest, because tactically we may approach an issue or another differently, but strategically at the highest level, if that signaling goes through, that would be a takeaway for India and for the US, given that in our region, security concerns have grown to our west, but also to our north and in the Indian Ocean. So strategic congruence is a key takeaway in specific terms. In terms of the Quad, we would like to signal that India and its Quad partners are preparing for an area of contestation in a non-conventional sort of a battlefield. And by that, I mean that the issues of contestation are not military in nature. They are issues relating to health, relating to connectivity, relating to global supply chains, relating to mobility, and relating to a global order which is based on a rules-based global order. These are all very unconventional issues. Usually, people don't see them as areas of contestation. However, the rise of China and its assertiveness has brought all these into play. Issues of emerging technologies are also there. So these are the new battlefields of contestation which are emerging, and that's the signaling from the Quad that these four countries, which are diverse, which are different, but also have commonalities in terms of being democracies, in being pluralistic societies, and countries which are ready to work in concert and form a sort of a coalition of the willing to address the emerging, aggressive, assertive behavior of an Asian country.
Right. The shared vision of a free and open Indo-Pacific is what the Quad grouping is all about. What is your assessment of the scope and potential of the Quad grouping to deal with the Beijing threat?
It's an incipient idea. It's an idea which a few years ago nobody thought would even come into being. Beijing dismissed it as being not very relevant. Today, you can see criticism of the Quad coming from Beijing, which means that they are getting concerned. It is not a fully matured platform, but it's a platform where countries are trying to work together. So they're looking at specific deliverables. For example, it could be in semiconductors. Another deliverable which they agreed to during the virtual summit was vaccines. It got delayed because of a force majeure in India. Now, these are two clear global public goods, which if the Quad can work on, it will be seen as tangible outcomes from this visit.
Speaking about the Afghanistan crisis now, for India, the botched American withdrawal from Afghanistan has direct security implications. On the Afghanistan crisis specifically, what would India's priorities be during these discussions to be held?
So Afghanistan poses for India a very specific challenge which none of the other Quad countries perhaps face. It's a challenge that we are located geographically in the vicinity. It's in our neighborhood, but also it's a challenge which has come upon us because managed withdrawal of the US troops from Afghanistan didn't go according to plan. It took everybody by surprise. And that surprise now has forces which have been in the past inimical to India, now ensconced in authority. Obviously, these are areas of concern for India. And we would like to understand from the US is its withdrawal from Afghanistan. What does it mean? Does it mean that Afghanistan is no longer in the security calculus of the US? Because if so, we have to then rework our calculus to and up our game, because in security terms, what happens in Afghanistan is likely to have an overflow impact in India. By all indications, it seems that the US will not give up its interest in counterterrorism, which is a key factor in our own approach towards Afghanistan. It's a factor which Indian foreign policy has used as a plank for decades now. And it's not it's also a factor which impinges on the key concerns of our population. Any meeting of minds, congruence of views on this would send signals to India that we could work with the US on this, because Afghanistan is a complicated issue. No one country can address it. We need to work together. We need to take everybody on board, because you have on the one side issues of security, but you also have on the other side issues of a humanitarian concern. Because the ordinary people of Afghanistan are perhaps facing a humanitarian emergency, and how do countries like India and the US, as well as others concerned, work together on this? It's a difficult issue, but it's an issue that can't be ignored.
Indeed, and that brings me to Pakistan. America's if I may, convenient stance on Pakistan continues. While in Washington, Kamala Harris spoke of Pakistan's cross-border terrorism. The Secretary of State, Antony Blinken, was hosting the Pakistani Foreign Minister in New York and appreciated Islamabad for the assistance in Afghanistan. What do you make of these remarks?
So this is the perpetual conundrum that US foreign policy faces with relation to Afghanistan. Previously, their argument was that we had troops there, we had major interests there, and therefore they were dependent tactically on Pakistan for a series of requirements of support. Now that the US tactical dependence on Pakistan is reduced, we hope that they will strengthen their resolve in addressing issues of terrorism, because for us, and for many other countries, we see roots of terrorist problem in Pakistan rather than in Afghanistan. Yes, Afghanistan, which is an ungoverned space right now, does provide opportunity for elements inimical to India to germinate. But the Pakistani army or the ISI have been known to use that space to promote such inimical elements. And the ungoverned spaces have provided them that opportunity, greater strategic space. So if I may quickly conclude, I would say that the US today is in a better position to reassess its Pakistan policy than it was when it was engaged fully militarily in Afghanistan.
Thanks very much once again, sir, for sharing your time and your perspectives. We hope to continue to have this conversation once further updates trickle in from the United States. Thanks very much for the moment.
Thank you very much.